Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Delighted to be here in the Ping Putting Lab with Jeff, our master putter fitter here. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Definitely. It's one of the coolest rooms, I would say, here at Ping HQ. You know, unique putters that really aren't available at retail that people have never seen. We've been swooning over them for the last 15 minutes.
There's some super cool stuff in here, yeah.
It's very, very cool. But Jeff, tell us a little bit about the putting lab here.
Yeah, so the putting lab is where we do all of our tour fittings, our VIP guests that come to the proving grounds, any of our PLD customers come in through the proving grounds. This is where we do all of our testing for new product lines.
Right. Okay.
So our table is about 6.5 feet wide. It's 45 feet 10 inches long. Sits on its own foundation from the building. So trying to eliminate all the variables when we do the testing. So basically it's polished down to 1/1000th of an inch flat. So perfectly level.
Wow.
The table itself is about 70 tons. So
is that right?
Yeah.
Granite.
So solid granite. Yeah. So it's a perfectly level surface. We get a lot of testing stuff in here for fittings and for new product line testing. So we can get a lot of technical stuff, and then we have our outside putting green too that we can go out and do a lot of testing out there as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it's a truly unique, putter studio. You've got Quintic, which our viewers are familiar with, that we use back at the studio back in Toronto and Mississauga. We've got the iPing app. Yep. You guys use a lot to can take players through the putter fit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so iPing we use from our tour players all the way down to our VIP guests. So we use our iPing app for club data, and then we'll use our Quintic app for mostly ball data, but we can get some club data if we need to. But with everything that iPing provides in terms of looking at the player's closing angle, their tempo, their loft, their lie, how they're aiming it, all that kind of stuff, it's a pretty easy tool to use to really dial in that player's putting specs.
Well, we were playing the other day and you were moaning a little bit about the putting, saying,
I missed every putt that I looked at. And my partner kept me in the match. Well, we still lost. But, yeah, I'm curious what would fit me, because the last time Ian fit me for a putter has been at least 2 years.
A couple of years, yeah, definitely.
And I've been, I took a little break from the game, so I'm pretty sure my technique is probably changed. And I have a feeling kind of my posture, my eye lines, all this kind of stuff can use it look. So I think it'd just be a fun process to have just a totally organic fit and see what comes out.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be cool.
You're in the right place.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're in the right place.
Certainly are. Okay, why don't we roll a few and kind of get some sighters. Have you picked out a baseline putter that you'd start with?
I will do that now.
Yeah.
Okay, pick something out and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the good thing with iPing is we can put in your static measurement. So based off your height and your wrist to floor, so 5'11", 34 inches, you do statically fit into 34 inches. So that's a good starting point for us. Now, are you right eye or left eye dominant?
Close my left eye and the camera's in the center, so I'm right eye dominant.
Right eye dominant. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's give you a putter at 34 inches here.
I'm not sure what I picked out.
So. Again, we'll just start with an answer style. If a player comes in that doesn't have their gamer, that's a good starting point, just because that's kind of middle of the bell curve in terms of toe hang. So,
or they've lost all confidence in their gamer and they don't want to see it again.
All right, so what kind of ball do you play?
A Pro V1X.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to give you that.
Do you want to look at a Bridgestone, since that was the one that came
we did the ball dynamics with Marty yesterday, and the Bridgestone BX was the recommendation.
Perfect.
So
let's try that.
Yeah, roll a few.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
If you could just put the ball right on that laser there, and then we could just start by hitting just a few putts to that first disc.
Okay.
That is a 10-footer, and just act like that's the hole. So in terms of speed and everything.
All set?
Yeah, all set. We do have a camera right behind you. Yeah, perfect. So you can just hit a few there just to get used to it. Now, do you have a miss tendency at all? Do you miss left or right more often?
I'm trying to think about how we played the other day. I want to say a little bit more of a push.
More of a push? Okay. Yeah, I would say a lot of people tend to kind of struggle with speed control too. So their shaft lean maybe is a little inconsistent on how they're delivering that shaft. So
that's something that a variable for speed control.
Correct.
Like the amount of
for loft.
Yeah, for loft. So let's clip this on your putter here. And have you used iPing before?
I don't think I have.
Okay.
Is that right?
No, I don't think I have. Yeah.
All right, perfect. So this just clips right underneath the cradle or the grip here, and we're just going to hit 5 putts again to that first target. How does that length feel? Does it feel comfortable to you?
It does.
Okay, perfect.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm in the best posture, to be honest, but based on how I'm standing comfortably, it feels good.
The putter where Ping got its name.
That was nice.
What have you used in the past?
I played a spider for quite a long time.
Okay.
And I also played sort of a more of a flow neck blade for quite some time. So I would say over the past 5 years, those are the only 2.
And the spider, did that have a flow neck too? Was that okay?
Yes, it did.
What was the Bobby Grace you had for a while? That was pretty good for quite a while.
Nice little flow neck. Mostly comes down to me executing, I think.
All right, very good. All right, so I'll take iPing off the putter here. So if you turn around, so we have a couple different screens here. We have motion view on the right, and then we have all of our iPing stroke metrics on the left. So you can see here, you know, our ground level contact is really good right in the center. It looks pretty level on that lie angle. Your eye line looks really good. So just slightly inside the golf ball is what we're focusing on there. So just it's going to be able to see your antenna line the best. So if you feel like you're comfortable, your arms are hanging naturally, the eye position's in a good spot, I think 34 is a good length for you. Looking over on iPing, so iPing is just all based off consistency. So everything in green would be consistent on your stroke, yellow would be moderate, red would be inconsistent. So all of your stroke metrics are in the green, which is a good sign. We're looking at 5 different metrics for you, and then each one of these categories has their own consistency score. So you can see kind of where you are most consistent on your putting stroke. And then this handicap of plus 1.5, that's your overall consistency score, which is on the same scale as like an actual handicap. So zero would be scratch, and then plus, you know, would be better than scratch. So very, very consistent.
Flat 10-footers really are mine.
So we do have, you know, this iPing leaderboard over here on the left, which...
Okay, so that's who's come in and tested it.
Exactly.
Cool.
So that leaderboard is based off of, you know, about 12,000 fittings. So we started that leaderboard in 2015. So those are the highest consistency scores that we've seen come through the putting lab. So
quite amazing.
Back to your metrics here. So this closing angle, this first category that we're looking at, so what this 4.4 degrees is measuring, that's just measuring your face rotation from the start of the downswing back to impact.
Okay.
So you do have a little bit of rotation, about 5 degrees is the middle of the bell curve in terms of rotation, about over 1 million data points that we have with iPing.
We're talking about the blade opening and closing?
So yeah, we're just focusing on the start of the downswing back to impact, how much that putter is rotating. So, you know, obviously we would fit for 3 categories of putters, so straight, slight, and strong. So straight arc putters would be a little bit more face balanced. That's going to be designed for a player that has about 0 to about 3.5 degrees of rotation. 3.5 degrees to about 7.5 degrees of rotation, you'd fit more into a slide arc putter, so something with a little bit of toe hang, like what you're currently playing with that answer style. And then 7.5 degrees or more, that would be designed for somebody that has a lot of face rotation. So a putter with a lot of toe hang is going to fit that type of player. So like the flow necks that you've used in the past, that's going to have a little bit more toe hang than the answer style.
Makes sense, because you would use that to slow down the rate of my rotation. You gave me more of the flow neck.
More of the flows,
Yeah, so this could explain why you maybe have a little bit of a push tendency. So anytime that you have a putter with a little bit more toe hang, that type of putter is always going to be delivered a little bit more open than something a little bit more face balanced. So it's going to be a little bit easier for you to square up a little bit more of a face balance option. So with that flow neck style, you really fit with your rotation more into that slide arc. So it's something that hangs about 40 degrees. So when you have a putter with a lot of toe hang, it's going to be really hard for you to square that type of model up, which could cause that little bit of a push that you sometimes see.
It's funny because I mean a lot of the reason the flow neck I've liked is a bit of a aesthetic thing. Like I do like the aesthetic of it, but I guess that's a bit of a pitfall of being a customer and saying I like the look of this putter, I like the flow neck, and then if I hadn't done this process, I'd probably have come and done it again. Like I picked the wrong putter again, based on what you're showing me. The flow neck is actually a bad fit.
Yeah, so you just be fighting it a little bit.
Yeah.
So kind of your natural tendency of that force and torque that you like to apply to it, you don't like to apply a lot of that. And then that type of putter with a lot of toe hang, you're really going to have to apply a lot of force and torque to square that model up. So we can definitely look at maybe something a little bit more face balanced, still with some toe hang, but I think that's just going to help you kind of to release it and square it up a little bit better. So we'll look at a couple of slide arc options for you.
Gotcha.
Your next category would be your impact angle. So what this negative 1.2 is, that's just a relative measurement from where you are at setup compared to where you are at impact at the face. So it's just really how you're aiming it. So what we've realized with all the best players that have come through the putting lab, our tour staff, this number doesn't necessarily need to be right at 0. Everyone's going to aim just a little bit different. What we're really trying to focus on is consistency. So that plus 3.2, very, very consistent on how you aim it. So you can see how tight your dispersion is. But really what this means for you is that you are a little bit of a left aimer and then you come in a little close relative to that starting point. So about a degree.
Interesting.
But very, very repeatable, and that's what we're focusing on there is that consistency number.
Gotcha.
But this is what we can use to help fit for head shape and alignment features, that kind of stuff. Your next category would be your tempo. So what this 2.5 is, that's just a time ratio from your backswing to your forward swing. So in iPing, we can get your overall stroke time, your backswing time, and your forward swing time, and then it gives us that ratio of 2.5. So 1.8 to 2.2 is going to be more of an average tempo in iPing. Okay. So you being at 2.5, you have a little bit of a slower tempo.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And this is what we'd use to help fit for head weight. So we really want to match up a head weight, just the natural cadence to your stroke. So a lot of our data says if you have a slower tempo or you have a tendency of struggling with shorter putts, something a little bit heavier is just going to offer a little bit more stability for you throughout your stroke. And then if it's longer putts you tend to struggle with, we could look at something a little bit more traditional weighted. That gives you a little bit more feel on those longer putts.
Cool.
And then your lie angle, so we can change this. We can look at impact and setup. So we're measuring our lie angle from the vertical position, so this angle up, where if you're more familiar with that 70-degree number, that would be measuring it from the ground level up. So 20 to 70 is the same lie angle. So what you're showing, this 21.7, you're just showing a little bit flatter with your lie angle. So potentially, you can see the toe just slightly up in the air, potentially go just a touch flatter. It's pretty level and your contact's pretty good, so a lot of times better players will make adjustments with that lie angle. So if we gave you something, 1-2 degrees of flat, you might make an adjustment to that. So if you're showing a drastic flatter lie angle, say 3-4 degrees, we might just start with 2 degrees,
right,
and then see if you make that adjustment, and then we can tweak from there. But potentially just go maybe a little bit flatter with your lie angle.
Interesting.
And then this last metric here, this shaft lean, so this negative 2.7 is just measuring this plane, so where your hands are at impact.
Okay.
So at impact, you have about 2.5 degrees of forward shaft lean, so you're just de-lofting the putter just a touch.
Is that quite a bit, or is that?
So everyone will have applied different shaft leans. It is a little bit. So basically, we would like to see your dynamic loft, so the combination of this number and the loft of your putter to be around 3 degrees.
Okay.
So if you have a putter at 3 degrees of loft, your dynamic loft is close to 0, which you could be driving that ball into the turf, which could affect speed, could affect that rollout.
Yep.
So we can take this number, tweak the loft if we need to, and then really look at Quintic to really dive into that ball data, see what your forward, backspin, side spin, all that kind of stuff is. So
very cool.
Potentially maybe add a little bit of loft to your putter. Same thing with the lie angle. You could be making an adjustment with shaft lean as well. So when we can look at green speed and all that. So if you play on a little bit of faster surfaces, maybe don't need as much loft. If it's a little slower surfaces, we're going to err on a little bit more loft to get that ball out of the depression, rolling on the green. So metrics are really good and really consistent.
This is cool. I really like the camera setup too.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of cool to see.
Yeah, nice to see some of the impact location stuff and zoomed in, eye line.
If you had a customer in that, because I know a lot of the time you'll help them with their setup and stuff. I mean, imagine this kind of a setup would be very helpful to say, okay, yeah, we'll fit your putter, but look at your eye line and all this first.
Yeah.
It's a great system.
So now we can take some numbers and just kind of look at some different models.
Sure.
Within the putting lab, we have all of our retail models. We also have our PLD custom, which you can come in here and actually get fit for, go through that tour level experience. We also have a virtual fitting as well, where a customer could sign up online, and we actually send them an iPod Touch and a cradle, and they can send us the feedback, and then we put together a presentation where we go through a Zoom virtual meeting, show all of the PLD custom models and stuff like that. So they could still get a really good fit going through the virtual fitting just because of the iPing numbers.
Very cool. All right, well, I will leave it to you to make the next step.
Okay, absolutely. So, yeah, you've never really used that plumber's neck hosel.
No.
So, obviously that's going to really fit your closing angle nicely.
Okay.
So that could be a good option for you. We could potentially look at something like this, but it has that flow neck, which it's going to have a similar amount of toe hang to an answer style.
Okay.
But the CGE being just a little bit further away from the face, it's actually going to play a little bit more strong arc. So we could potentially try this if you like that shape, look at your metrics. Also with like our double bend options, so we can take a double bend, which is typically face balanced, but we can just change that bend point, so we can bend this just a little bit lower to get actually a little bit of toe hang.
Cool.
So
I didn't know that.
it's all about how that shaft axis goes through the head. So if we bend this a little bit higher, if you were to draw a dotted line down the shaft, it's going to go right into the center. If we just bend this a little bit lower, it's going to go more into the heel, which is going to add a little bit of toe hang to it. So we can take, the hosel or that flow neck and then the double bend and really kind of get to your metrics.
I mean, the double bend, I wouldn't mind trying.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good putt. Really nice.
Yeah, a little bit more consistent, or a little bit more forgiving with that CG, just a little further away from the face. So it's just going to be offered a little bit more stability. Yeah, really good there.
I feel like I hit 5 pretty similar putts.
Yeah, so you could see that plus 2.7, so we got a little bit more consistent on that overall consistency score.
Gotcha.
Now every metric is actually in the plus. So your tempo, which we saw with your closing angle and your tempo before, you got a little bit more consistent with that little heavier putter.
That's interesting.
So again, tempo really didn't change much. Your closing angle, like I said, really doesn't change much. So still just aiming just a little bit more off to the left and coming a little bit more closed relative to that starting point. Still have that forward shaft lean, so definitely want to add a little bit of loft. Potentially still go a little bit flatter with your lie angle. So you can see the metrics if you take a look at just kind of side-by-side comparison. So the first putter that we tried was that plus 1.5. The DS72 is on the right. So really your metrics don't really change much. They just got a little bit more consistent just because maybe that putter fits you a little bit better.
That's
so
really cool.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
if we did go this direction, we might want to just add a little bit of toe hang to it just because it does have just a touch of, you do have a touch of rotation. So
that's cool.
Just by bending that just a little bit lower, we can get a little bit more toe hang off that. So I think that's going to be really good. So, the good thing about in here, we can get all technical stuff with iPing, motion view, Quintic, and then with our outdoor putting green, we can take that putter out there, or a couple models that you're maybe deciding between, and then do a lot of like game-like fitting training stuff out there, hit some putts that you maybe tend to struggle with.
Okay.
Just because in here, you have a lot of straight lines, it's perfectly level. It's not, the ball's not actually going in the hole, so
that's why I'm putting well, because just everything you just said.
So we can go out to the green and get some good testing out there, and then if we need to tweak anything out there, we can as well. So we typically like to take 2 or 3 models out to the putting green.
So where do we go from here with this guy? I think this is actually really quite good.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's good.
I kind of like it. It's something I honestly I haven't really tried a head shape this exact style.
Yeah.
And as I said, the neck connection is not one that I've ever played before.
Yeah.
It seems to suit the stroke pretty well.
I like the idea of bending a fraction lower, just
Yeah.
maybe having, what do you think, like 20 degrees of toe hang to it, something
So
between the
yeah,
answer
with
and the
this
face balance?
we can get about 10, so we can get about
10.
that. Yeah, so we can get a little bit.
That'd be nice.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, with that CG just being a little further away,
Yeah.
it's going to play more than that 10 degrees. So
Yeah, I see.
that could be a really good option for you. I would definitely recommend it just because you do have some face rotation. And then, lie angle, I would probably just only go about a degree flat.
Yeah.
Just so
I
you're
can
not,
see it clearer on the screen now.
Just sitting.
I can see it sitting a bit, just a bit more toe up.
Yeah, so just potentially just go a degree flatter. I wouldn't want to go any more than that, just because you'd start making that adjustment.
Yeah.
And then with loft, so this is a good thing with this compare screen, because we can see impact numbers and setup numbers. So you can actually see from setup to impact, you actually are adding a little bit more forward shaft lean. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to give you something, say 4.5 to 5 degrees of loft, just because at setup you don't have as much forward shaft lean, so it might start affecting on how that putter's sitting for you.
You might lean it more.
Yeah, exactly. So I would just recommend maybe about 4 degrees of loft, and then we could test that outside on the putting green, test it with the Quintic numbers. But what I would start with is you just 1 degree flat and then 4 degrees of loft. At 34 inches, and add just a touch of toe hang to it. Yeah.
And this guy has about half a shaft of offset versus the answer shape had a full shaft of offset. So from a hand position, that's going to help Matty as well a little bit towards not having that handle being the kind of lead on the downstroke.
So it keeps my hands a bit more behind the ball.
Yeah. So that's a nice improvement on there.
Agreed.
It's going to be kind of a similar amount of offset to that flow neck.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Very cool.
I'm spoiled as usual.
Well, it's the tools that
so good.
Jeff has here at his disposal with the camera system and motion view with iPing, and obviously layering Quintic on top of that from a ball roll perspective.
Pretty amazing,
It really is. It really is. And you can leave the putting lab here really feeling like, okay, it's down to me to learn the other skills around putting, whether it's some green reading skills and that type of
Lag
thing. But
and speed control.
Totally, some speed control drills. But you can certainly leave with a lot of confidence in your putter.
I think I know we didn't really measure it as much, maybe more with the tempo, but the speed control felt very consistent for me. I'm not sure if that was the head weight that you changed it to, or maybe just that face. I've used some techie faces. This is the first time in a while I've had a milled face.
Right.
I think maybe just a milled face suits me better.
Looked good there, actually. Yeah, that second putter looked really good. Do you feel better about your putting than you did before you came in? I think you felt like after playing the other day, you didn't feel like you hold the ones you felt like you should have.
I kind of just felt
feeling a little down in the putting a little bit.
Just felt like my confidence was pretty low.
And then you see your putting handicap at plus 2.7 and go, very, very capable technically.
Yeah, exactly. It gives me the confidence to know that as you said, it's up to you to apply it in the real world, which would be the next step.
Yeah.
Get the putter built the way you've described and get it on a real green.
Yeah,
do some putting.
And learn how to read greens.
Learn how to read those greens, which is a skill in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Great Jeff,
process.
thank you. That was amazing. I mean, I know that's a pretty high level view of what you're doing here, but I mean the thoroughness of that is quite incredible. So guys, I mean, I think looking at going through a process like this, I feel like I say the same thing when we finish these segments. How do you not go through a process like this? How do you ever choose a putter and not go through the process of assigning the specific characteristics of your stroke and your rate of rotation, all that sort of thing, the specific DNA and blueprint of your stroke? You've got to identify that.
Well, I don't know how you would go to the putting green as we're talking about confidence.
Yeah.
You may not have confidence in your own technique and skill, but if you are doubting the putter on top of that, I can see your performance really dropping off.
Really true.
For sure.
Good stuff. Excellent. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Let us know your thoughts. I'd love to hear if any of you have been here to the putting lab at Ping, if you've been through a process, if this blew your mind in terms of just the level of information that Matt was able to get in a short space of time. Would love to hear your thoughts on it, and please, again, we encourage you so much to go ahead and do this process yourself, get access to it. iPing, Jeff, is it available still to the public, or is it fitters only?
Yeah, so it is a free download. So if you go through the PLD custom program, then we actually send the player the cradle, which they get to keep. So if you're an Apple user, if you have an iPhone, it would be a free download.
It's a really worthwhile thing.
It really is. I mean, something as a checkpoint for your game that you can, do some, work in the winter, get in the basement, roll a few putts, and just make sure you're not straying too far off track.
No, I was impressed with all that. That was great.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you for that. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, hope you enjoyed that. Take care. We will see you again soon.